Hey folks, I was having some problems with my my headlight and one of my lamps not coming on. This one over here was working fine for a while, but then eventually the 10 amp fuse on the bike blew, which was for the headlight. As I was doing some digging around, I found that these weren't really, well, these weren't grounded. They were all just, they had the 12 volt line going back through here back to the headlight. There's a plug in the headlight for 12 volt, but they were trying to ground through this, which is not really, I mean, it's mounted on a rubber mounting here for vibration and such. It is all rusty down on the inside here where it was connecting, so I wasn't getting a good connection, a good ground. So I think between that and between a bad connection in here, all the power, everything, and the ground feeds back into the headlight bucket here. So what I was seeing is when I took this off, there was actually a connector. It was a terminating connector. It was completely melted. I'll put a picture in it here, so you can see like something got really, really hot in there. There's too much current flowing through. So those were all the ground wires that were connected together on this butt connector, this butt joint. So a couple things I did. I replaced that connector. Also, from here, I ran new ground wires to connect back into the chassis ground, so that I know that I get a good ground coming back. So my hot and my ground are all connected back into the bucket here. I also moved, the person who had this bike before me, they had these tied in to the same wire that the headlight is powered off of. But inside of here, there are also, they may be on a different circuit. I haven't really tested that. There's an additional power, 12 volts. So when you turn the key on, it lights them up. It gives it 12 volt. Also, there was another ground. So I actually moved these so that they're hooked into the, I guess you could be calling an auxiliary 12 volt or a switched 12 volt and ground wire there. I wanted to take it off of there just to make sure that it wasn't going to burn anything up. So between new ground wires, moving the power to its own connections in there, and the bulb that was here, the bulb in this light here, I think may have caused the whole meltdown because it was in bad shape. So I bought some new replacement bulbs, H3 standard halogen. So I'm going to pop those in. I end up buying two. This one here is still good, but I'm going to replace them both just to make sure that they're all on the same brightness. So let's try to go in here. To replace this is pretty simple. On these driving lights here, there's one screw underneath each one. So that'll come out. We'll lose that. So we grab onto that. Set it off to the side. Now, you have to grab underneath this. There we go. You can see where I ran the new ground wire, hooked it into the frame ground here on the bucket. So let's pop this new bulb in. Now, these are halogen, but I want to make sure that I don't touch the bulb, because you get any oil or anything from your fingers on the bulb, it'll have a shorter lifespan. So make sure not to touch the glass on it. We'll pop this in here. Put it around the right way. You see on the bulb itself, it has one side has a slot, the other side has the little curved. So we'll pop that in there. And I'll get the spring connector. It actually has to go over this wire, hooks underneath there, and then you can pinch it in place. Hooks underneath. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. So with this little spring, hooks under a tab there, and then latches in here and here. It comes in and out pretty easy. That holds the bulb in there. And then I will connect up the power. That's all there is to it. Replacing these bulbs. One little trick is when you're putting this back together, you have to hook it on the top first, but see, try to You have to make sure you align the bottom screw hole. Alright. That time it worked out. Usually takes a couple shots unless you're really good at climbing underneath and looking. So we'll snug that one in place. Move over to the other one. Want to strip the screws. Make sure you have the right screwdriver here. Pop that off. Now, this one already had the bulb in it, of course, so I'm going to disconnect that, pop that out of there, not to lose that. Okay, bulb comes out, you get the new bulb. Again, when you're taking it out of the box, make sure not to touch the glass on the bulb itself. Take it up from the other side. There we go. Again, you'll see on these bulbs there's a little square slot, and then there's a little rounded slot. And when you look inside the thing itself, there's a little square tab, a little rounded tab. So they line right up. You know you've got it in the right way. Get the spring. Get the spring back in place. It hooks underneath the tab. Again, over there, over there. And that's it for installing it. Up the power. It's a 12-volt positive. And we're back to, and again, you can see here where I put a nice beefy ground wire in. Get everything taped up, soldered, and secure. Whoops. So, hole here matches down to the threaded end. Best to come down underneath. Hook it on the top. Align with the threads. And snap into place. Find the screw. Let's see how close this one is. Boom. All right. So those are back in place. One of the things that I will want to do before I take it out is make sure I had the whole connector off to rerun all the wiring. So these might be tilted up a little high. I want to make sure I bring these down so that it's not blinding people. Set it up against the wall here, shining, and make sure that these are tilted down a little more so it gives a nice view of the road without blinding oncoming drivers. I want them to be able to see me, but I don't want to blind them. Next step, let's turn it on. Make sure the bulbs work. So when I hit the key, actually when I click it over to auxiliary, so they are for auxiliary. You can see how nice and bright those are. Turn it on. Headlight comes on when you start it. So there you go. So now this is an aftermarket, I believe, that the guy put on. I don't think the Vulcan comes with these. I have to look it up, see if it does. Maybe it does come with it. But I believe this was an aftermarket that the guy put on. So if you do have driving lights like that, take a look at them. They might be using these H3 bulbs. But again, key points. You want to make sure everything's has a good ground so that you don't run into any issues with shorting or too much current running through things because of resistance. If you don't have a good ground, you're going to run into issues. So it's worthwhile running the positive 12 and the negative all the way back and make sure it's fused. another key. You don't want to run that right back to the battery without any fuse protection, because you will be causing yourself some grief. So you want a fuse link, goes back, and in here I had the auxiliary, so I was fine with that. Don't touch the bulb, the glass bulb itself. The oils from your fingers will degrade the life of the bulb. I guess the oil will put hot spots on the bulb and cause it to burn out. So that's about it for replacing these driving lights. A couple more things I'll do is just align them, make sure they're facing down a little bit out of driver's eyes, and I'll be good to go. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share if you thought this was helpful or interesting.